and sisters, we've all turned up the radio to hear Brother Jimmy Lakey, from coast to coast and shore to shore. Now raise your voice. Oh, let us all, Jimmy Lakey, get out of bed. Jimmy Lakey, raise your voice. Jimmy Lakey, hey, can't live without it with Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey.
All right, happy Friday, everybody. We made it to the 14th day of February, year of our Lord, 2025, and it's Friday. It's Valentine's Day, so all of you lovers out there, happy Valentine's to each of you. How are you going to celebrate today? We talked about gifts. Anybody got a big celebration plan? Anybody going to hit the Applebee's? Anybody? Who's going to the Chili's? Do you? Is the day of Valentine's, is that the day that you overperform and go to restaurants that you're not comfortable going to, and you're wondering, why the heck am I getting this small portion for a fantastically high price? Or is it the day you just kind of go to the comfort food out there? And who wants to cook on Valentine's Day? It doesn't seem like that's the most romantic thing to do, because where there is a cooking, there's a mess, and where there's a mess, somebody's got to clean it up. And those of us who are OCD would not want to have dishes left in the kitchen dirty while other things are happening. It just couldn't think right. So anyway, happy Valentine's Day to all of you. I would bid all of you adieu, and have a Valentine's Day. If you if you don't have your reservations at a restaurant, good luck. Maybe go to lunch. A lunch tomorrow early. It's a good day. A happy Lover's Day to all of you. Is there any Valentine's Day, Hallmark holiday? This is not on my notes here. Any Hallmark holiday that you just say, why do we do this one? Because you spend so much on cards and things like that, and you're kind of forced to celebrate because the culture and Hallmark says it's this big day. Valentine's Day should be every day in our lives. There should be a day that we stop and tell people we love them and our lovers, and we do that stuff for our spouses, our significant others. That's important, but I guess it is good to have a holiday. Is there anybody out there that's, because there's people that don't want to celebrate Christmas. They say this is just a bah humbug. They're the bah humbug crowd. Is there anybody out there on the other Hallmark holidays that are bah humbug? Yeah, I'm just curious. I don't necessarily know of anyone. I do know a couple of folks that say, we don't really celebrate the Valentine's Day because, they brag and say every day in our household is a love fest. So that's good for you. But there are people that say bah humbug for Christmas. And I'm just wondering, are there people that say bah humbug for Valentine's Day? Are there people that say, be careful on this one, bah humbug for Mother's Day? Does anybody say bah humbug for I like that. See, you guys were making fun of me yesterday for putting a wrong date on a program. Delilah misspelled Valentine's Day. See, you guys made fun of me yesterday. What goes around comes around. You guys make fun of me. You made fun of me. I put a wrong date down on something. We're all human here on this show. We cast no arrows at anyway. All right, let's get to the news. There we go. It's correct. Normally, I don't read anything I'm not seeing on the screen. So that's what you guys get for making fun of me yesterday. It was the producer Chad and Jeff making fun of me because on one of the shows, I tagged it Thursday, the 14th day of February. It's the 13th, and that became a whole brouhaha, and God knows when you have brouhahas on the show. I'm usually the butt of the jokes, but today, the loser of the third grade spelling bee, producer Chad. All right, good to have everybody here, and let's go to the news. What do you say? We got, RFK. It's been a good week. We got Tulsi Gabbard in. We got RFK Jr. in. Kash Patel gets out of committee, and he's expected to go to a full vote of the Senate, I believe, next week. And he's going to go there next week. And when he does, he's expected to be confirmed as a member of the cabinet. So if I'm not mistaken, I need to look up the odds on this, but the only one that I wouldn't say didn't get confirmed, he dropped out before his hearing, was the original Attorney General nominee, Matt Gaetz. And he dropped out before his hearing and ever started. So if I'm not mistaken, this is pretty much, so far we got Linda McMahon to get in there. I think we're batting up almost 1,000. If you don't count Gates, I think they're batting 1,000 and getting people in and confirmed. So you have to give kudos to the House or the Senate Republicans for their confirmation and the Senate's for sticking together. And I have a feeling that, we look on the outside. And we're observing from the outside and say, yeah, Trump won and he did this. But you have to have these jackwagons in Washington, D.C. cooperate. And like, for instance, on RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, the only Republican that voted no was actually the turtle, Mitch McConnell. My speculation, and I could be wrong, I do not have inside voice on this, but I do think that what's happening is behind the scenes. The reason you're seeing the Republican caucus stick together so much is I think they sense, and I think there's polling out there that says that just shows them that Trump is more popular than it is than anticipated. I think they look at the demographics and the numbers of this election and say people voted for something different. I think in Washington, D.C., the reason you see Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski at times when you think they would be a no vote, they still think that they sense something in the air that in a different way, but the same thing that we actually believe is there. So anyway, congrats. It's going to be interesting to see Linda McMahon. She should get through. That's not a problem, it's a speculation. But RFK Jr. has been confirmed, and it's going to be fun to watch how that happens because he says there's going to be a lot of transparency. You know, Democrats say about Musk, hey, we need transparency. It's going to be transparency. So Robert F. Kennedy is taking the argument of transparency. He's taking it right back to the Democrats and the FDA and all the things that fall under his purview. He's taking it right back to them. So we're going to be transparent. We're going to be transparent about the science. We're going to be transparent about the research. We're going to be transparent about the data. We're going to be transparent because that's one of the things that a lot of us who have questioned some of the things that RFK Jr., and this is the word that gets you in trouble on some of the platforms, a lot of us have said, hey, just give us the truth. Tell us what you know, and then people can make an informed decision. And unfortunately, politicians and bureaucrats set these guidelines on this topic for your children, and they set those guidelines up there, and they're not even informed. They're not health experts. They're politicians that have padded their pockets with donations from certain industries, and that's what RFK Jr. is talking about. Let's have some transparency, and let's just see what's really out there, and let's stop having bureaucracies boss us around and tell us what to do. All right, good to have you here on the show. What else do we have? Oh, we've got a great guest, several great guests. Usually, Laura Carno is usually a guest on Tuesday on the program, but today's a Friday. She was busy on Tuesday, so she's coming on Friday today at 8:30 this morning. So just about, 22 minutes away, if I'm looking at the clock right. Laura Carno will be here with us in just a bit. Laura Carno going to be there. That'd be fun. And then also towards the end of the show, about 8:45, John Fabbricatore is going to be on the show. He's the former Denver ICE field director, and so he has some great stories about what's been happening in just around the border ICE, and we'll talk about Aurora, Colorado, and John Fabbricatore will be on the program with me a little bit later as well. We'll talk immigration, customs enforcement, and so there's a lot to talk about in that world as well. Wrapping up the week, what else do I have? The Democrats still going apoplectic about D.O.G.E. There are a couple of videos, and I did not load them because we got a lot of stuff going on already today. But it's interesting that Republicans are standing up. They're standing up strong, and conservatives as well. People that aren't even Republicans are like, hey, we're standing up. I mean, RFK Jr. is not a Republican. He's a Kennedy Democrat, and he's in the Trump White House. Tulsi Gabbard is not a Republican. She's a Democrat, but now an independent. So there's this coalition of people that are saying we're sick and tired of the elites slapping us around and telling us how to behave and how not to behave and what to do and what not to do. We're tired of that elitism, and they're standing up. And you have this congressman from California that actually said Democrats need to start. Remember, as Maxine Waters 8 years ago, she was saying, find him in the streets and find him in the restaurants, and you get in their face. And she was talking about being accosted on the streets. She wanted these people to be accosted on the streets. And so what's been happening, there's some viral videos going around that some of the people have taken Maxine Waters' advice, and they have been accosting verbally and asking questions of Elizabeth Warren and Maxine Waters. And it is fun to see the entourage around them. I don't necessarily recommend the behavior, but they're getting what they asked for. What they thought was going to destroy Republicans is actually being turned back against them. All the suggestions they gave about investigations, now all of a sudden they're like, oh, we didn't mean us, we meant you. And it's fun to watch. There's some viral videos out there. So what's going to be interesting to happen now is there's this congressman out of California that says we need to start bringing weapons to fight, literal weapons. He's calling for guns and knives and things like that. Well, there was already a move in the House of Representatives to censure him, and they could actually, I don't know what the rules are, censure him or remove him from the House of Representatives for that. So it's going to be interesting. They mouth off and they ask for things and they want investigations. They want people to be accosted in the street, but now it's all turning back on them because they realize they have become irrelevant and nobody's really paying attention to them at all. All right, Jimmy, why do you always say we're going to the Applebee's? Well, the Applebee's is a fun place. Applebee's is famous, right? Think what's that country song about Applebee's? Date night at Applebee's. It was a big deal. People dancing. There was a certain dance you had to do with it. It was a TikTok sensation. You know, I thought after that Applebee's would return to its former glory. I thought Applebee's would be everywhere, but it's hard to find an Applebee's. At least in my neighborhood, I don't have an Applebee's. I mean, it's far away to go to an Applebee's, and so sometimes I just wonder where the Applebee's. I see they advertise all the time. You know, after they made fame in country music dancing and country music songs just a couple of years ago, and there's always advertising. And maybe it's just where I live, Colorado. We just don't have a lot of Applebee's, and so sometimes I get hungry for Applebee's because it's one of those things because they show it to me all the time, but I can't get it because there's not one nearby. So that's why I always say let's go to the Applebee's. So yes, no, I do not plan to spend my date night at Applebee's. Valentine's Day for me is I'm a non-celebrator here. I'm a single man, so I don't celebrate the app. I'm not going to be celebrating at the Applebee's today. That would be a thought. If people don't go to Applebee's for date night, maybe today would be the day that I treat myself to Applebee's. Trouble is, I think it's like 40 miles to the nearest Applebee's from where I live. I don't want to go drive that far for Applebee's. I mean, I'd drive that far for somewhere else, but maybe not for Applebee's. So I'm going to look into that because, well, that's a great question. This is the question I asked. Do you go to the old standards for your date, or is it an old standard? And therefore, if you're going to go out to dinner, do you go to the special place, or does it matter? And again, I think this is probably more for the women folk out there. If your guy takes you to, you know, the regular place you normally go, does that still count as a Valentine's date? Or if he's going to take you out to dinner, are you supposed to go to the fancier place or the nicer place? And I'm just curious out there because I'm trying to be predictive in predicting the lines at Applebee's right now. That's what I'm trying to figure out, predicting the lines at Applebee's. New York City Mayor Eric Adams has decided he's going to reopen the ICE office, the Immigration Customs Enforcement Officer at Rikers Island. Even though the governor of New York is not necessarily cooperating and very vitriolic to Donald Trump and Tom Homan, Eric Adams has decided to, let's see, somebody just posted about Applebee's. I saw it flash on my screen. Applebee's, where's it? Oh, there it is. Closest Applebee's to Fort Collins is either Loveland or Greeley. No Applebee's for us. Maybe Bad Daddy's. Now we're going to start getting restaurant recommendations. Texas Road is... Now people are just throwing restaurant names out there. Texas Roadhouse. What do you mean Texas Roadhouse? Is that the special place that you normally go to? No, I would. Okay, hold on. I said sometimes I see all these advertisements for Applebee's, and now I guess all of you are throwing out ideas that if you can't get to Applebee's, you go to Texas Roadhouse. I didn't want to go to Texas Roadhouse. I want to go to Applebee's. I mean, it's apples and oranges there. It's kind of like, hey, we don't have a Mexican food restaurant near me. Oh, well, go eat Chinese. Well, I don't want Chinese. I want Mexican. So, okay, Texas Road. Sassy group out there. Very sassy. Okay, back to New York Mayor Eric Adams. Forget the Applebee's for just a second because now I'm confused by all of your actions. I'm just confused by your actions out there, which is probably not hard for me to be confused. New York City Mayor Eric Adams promises to reopen the Immigration Customs Enforcement Office on Rikers Island after he met with Tom Homan. He says, yeah, we'll reopen that office. That would be a very good thing for us to reopen. And excuse me, the governor doesn't like it. It's tough tacos. Adams met with Homan in a closed-door meeting. In a statement, he said an executive order was being worked on to reestablish the ability for ICE agents to operate on Rikers Island, as was the case for 20 years until radical Democrats took over. So Eric Adams says, yeah, it's dangerous for you to be walking the streets of New York and arresting illegals. So if we already have illegals in Rikers, why don't we just take them in a safe place? This is what Tom Homan's been saying, is that these idiot governors and mayors like Mike Johnson in Denver Jared Polis here in Colorado. They're idiots. They're bona fide idiots. They would not mind seeing a cop dead on the street. So, hey, we're going to sign a law that makes it illegal for an ICE agent to go in and take somebody that they need from a jail and release them into ICE custody. That's going to be illegal. The sheriff and the deputy can go to jail for that, but we'll let the illegals out of the street. And this is what Tom Homan said. You're risking the lives of officers. And I'm telling you, my friend, all the things that are happening, Illinois has been a big target of suing the government. New York has been a big target of suing the government and meeting with New York City Mayor Eric Adams. But I'm telling you, if you live in Colorado, you better hold on and buckle up, Buttercup, because I would not be at all surprised with the conversation of ICE and Aurora and Trende Aragua and the presence that's been here and the stupidity of our governor and the mouthiness of our mayor in Denver and the Denver metro area. I would not be surprised if you don't see some Tom Homan type activity coming down heavy on the government of Colorado. And as for me in my house, I say more power to it. Let it happen. It couldn't happen to nicer people. It could not happen to a nicer person than those folks. So I'm watching. I'm watching to see which state is next. Last week was Illinois. This week he's been really pressuring the New York. And which state is next? Which state is equally as atrocious when it comes to the safety of law enforcement officers and the releasing of criminal illegals onto the streets? I'd say Colorado's in the top 5 of the country. California would be out there, and California's got enough problems right now. So hold on to your hat. It's going to be very interesting to see how this shapes out and which place is going to be the next one targeted. All right, anybody remember the Super Bowl? The Kansas City Chiefs won that thing, right? Some of you are still celebrating. On Wednesday evening, I ran across a couple of my friends who are Philadelphia Eagles fans, and they are very nice guys, except when they become Eagles fans. And when I've said this before, when Eagles fans become Eagles fans, they can be the nicest person out there, almost like Mother Teresa. But when they become Eagles fans, they become possessed by the spirit of Satan and Beelzebub. And somehow they just become obnoxious. And I was with them and I saw them, and they had a television in front of us. And the conversation ended quickly because you know how they wanted to spend the Thursday night? They wanted to spend Thursday night, and it was on NFL Network, watching the replay of the Super Bowl that they had already watched 3 other replays of it since Sunday. This was on Wednesday, and these Eagles fans are actually going to watch a replay of a game that they had already watched 3 times since, and then they watched it live. So anyway, the Eagles still celebrating. Not much to celebrate if you're from Philly anyway, so I guess you might as well give them something out there. But yeah, they were at the 4th. That'd be the 4th time. If I'm not, they'd watched it 3 times. They watched it live. So this would have been the 5th time they watched it since on Wednesday. And they were still cheering and saying, "Watch this play, watch this." It was almost like high school athletes that never got out of the hometown, and they're still wearing their leather jackets when they're 50 years old and relishing about the day that they, with their arthritic knees now, ran down the field and scored the winning touchdown when they were 17 years old. That's kind of how Eagles fans are. They're just relishing in this victory that they got, and congratulations to them. But it's funny to watch Eagles fans. They are pretty annoying people. Again, they may be great. It's once that spirit of the eagle comes on them, they just become almost unbearable. The Kansas City Chiefs, though, they have given Jason Kelce a deadline as to whether he's going to retire. I would guess, being the reaction that I see with Taylor Swift got the other night, I would guess, even though we were told how sweet and beautiful it was that Taylor was there, when people put her up on the screen, nobody likes it. We don't like having these pop stars told how cool it is and what a wonderful person this woman is. And then she decided to play politics, and so she isolated half of America by coming out and deciding to endorse in a presidential race. And how'd that work out for you, T Swift? And so I would guess, if you were asking, I would guess there's a lot of Chiefs fans out there that would not be if getting rid of Jason Kelce's retirement is what finally gets Taylor Swift out of the spotlight, you would sacrifice Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce. Jason's his brother. You would sacrifice Travis Kelce to beat his retirement if you never had to see T Swift at a football game again. That is a fair trade, even though you think he's think Trump called him the greatest tight end of all time. You would sacrifice Travis Kelce if you never had, I'm not talking physical, I'm talking literal, I'm talking figuratively, sacrifice his career, let him be gone, go to the Hall of Fame, whatever, if you never had to see Taylor Swift at a Arrowhead Stadium or any football game again. I'm guessing there's a lot of people that feel that way. So Eagles fans are possessed, says Roger. They need an exorcism. I told you the reason I came out of the pregame last week, the reason I came out pregame for this, for the Chiefs, was because I did not want to have to put up with obnoxious Eagles fans. I don't like the Eagles. I don't like the Chiefs. I do like Patty Mahomes, and Cooper DeJean, I think, is the young player. Cornerback, I believe, for the Eagles. I like him. I mean, from Iowa, great story, raised in a town of 1,000 people, never going to make it in professional football because no one knew him. And somehow he made it to the big league and had a pick six on his 22nd birthday. I love those stories. Those are players for both teams, but I'm telling you, I don't know if I can bear this. Every time I see these guys, I'm going to have to just turn my head or pray to the Lord Jesus to have patience, because Eagles fans are obnoxious. And if you've seen the episode that I did with L.A. Marzulli, I think maybe Eagles fans are all Nephilims. It's possible. If you haven't watched that thing, somebody commented yesterday on the Patreon.com page where we interview a long-form interview with L.A. Marzulli. Some people commented and said they said my mind is officially blown. It is a mind-blowing interview, especially if you've never explored the Genesis 3 narrative out there and what the Bible says about fallen angels and things like that. It's behind the paywall. You can watch a small preview of it, but it's patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. It dropped yesterday, and go watch it and let your mind go, woo, and it could explain Eagles fans. If you're out there trying to figure out the Eagles fans, this could be a great explanation. All right, talking about Super Bowls, it's Friday. Can you tell I'm just happy to be here. Happy that it's Friday. We'll talk D.O.G.E and all that stuff. Laura Carno's coming up. John Fabbricatore is coming up. Former Denver ICE director Carno's coming up on a rare Friday appearance. But right now I want to show you something. This is really cool. I kind of thought it was cool. We all made fun of the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime show. And I played some of the conspiracy reels that are out there that we knew it was a diss track for Drake. To Drake, and there was a Sony PlayStation depicted on the field, and it said "Game Over," like we're calling you out and or accusing people of pedophilia, all the stuff that was happening in that Super Bowl halftime show, right? Yeah, way too much drama. And 2 years ago, we talked about, you had Rihanna performing at the halftime show, and we had to deal with people dressed, looked like a Klan meeting, but they were these white things going across the stage, and basically that was it was showing human reproduction cycle, and with that, it was showing that. Rihanna was announcing she was pregnant, that she had been inseminated, and they go over to this egg. That was all symbolic, and they put all this symbolic thought. You know, what the hell are we watching? It's like this past Sunday in Rihanna, there's always some pretty interesting choreography and artistic interpretation, but it still sucks. The music is not all that great. Well, there was a time where music was just music, and the bands got up and played, and you didn't have to have the dancing girls, and you didn't have to have, I mean, even a few Thanksgivings ago, Dolly Parton came out at, 127 years old, dressed as a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. She just sang. She didn't have to have all the, she was just, I thought she was going to fall a couple of times, but it's kind of crazy. Jay-Z is the guy that's putting all this together, and he's now still in charge of the halftime entertainment. This is interesting, though. This is the behind the scenes, a couple of minutes, but I think you'll find it worth your while, because maybe in your childhood or young adulthood, you remember when Michael Jackson was the halftime show. Anybody remember this? This is when halftime started to get big, when the halftimes no longer were the guys in rocket space packs like we talked about a couple of days ago with the video from 1967, and no longer was it the girls dressed as Santa's reindeers and swimsuits from 1958. We showed all those videos this week. Go back and watch the shows. Well, this is when Michael Jackson took the stage, and this is the producer of the show giving the behind the scenes about the Michael Jackson Super Bowl halftime show, in which possibly you might remember when it happened. So I show this just for your listening pleasure, because it's Super Bowl week and we're still talking about Super Bowl things, but I just found this intriguing. So let me roll the tape and you enjoy this right now. This is a couple of minutes long, but this is the story about the behind the scenes of the Michael Jackson NFL halftime show.
2 days ahead of time, Michael called me at my house at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, I want to determine when the show starts. I have a concept for the beginning. And the cue was, I'm going to reach up and take my glasses off. And that's when you prepare to roll the trap. When he gets on the stage, he's like a general. He takes control. He takes command.
Michael, he always said, like, make them wait for it, you know? You got to marinate in it. You got to sit with it. So that everybody, you build anticipation. And that's what he did.
When you're directing this, I mean, every second is like an eternity. And I start to just shout, Michael, damn it, take your glasses off.
Take 5. Come on, Michael, do it. Stand by, VT Baker. Stand by. Here we go.
He can't hear me. I'm just losing it.
Come on, Michael, do it, baby.
I'm kind of just shouting into my headset. All the camera guys can hear me.
Come on, Michael.
But that was the deal that I had made with him, and I was not going to jump the queue.
Roll, VT Baker. Ready, shot 12 on 2. Coming to 2. Ready, shot 12 on 2. A little bit tighter. Woof. Ready, 2. Take. Shot 13 on 5 next. 3. Ready, 4.
You couldn't hear in the stadium because all you heard were fans screaming and yelling and going crazy. He created this spectacular show. The halftime performance actually beat out the rating of the game, which had never happened before.
Anybody remember that halftime show? I do remember that, and I don't remember I have to look up what year it was, but I remember watching it, and I'm going, I think it's broken. It's kind of like they carry Underwood. They're waiting for the track to start. And you're watching the whole time thinking that maybe they have a technical difficulty. But Michael had instructed that I think they said it was like 2 minutes that he just stood there. And you know the executives, the guy you're listening to produces the halftime show. You know the producers of the overall thing are going, what's going on? We have dead air. We're just staring at Michael Jackson standing there all stoic. And about 90 seconds in, he turned his head real sharp. And then at 2 minutes or so, he took the glasses off, and that was a cue. I remember the story of that halftime show, and I remember watching it going, something's broken. Maybe they have a technical difficulty. I want to say I was in middle school when that happened, but I'd have to look back on the year of it. But I do remember the Super Bowl halftime show with Michael Jackson, and the long pause there was brought to you by Michael Jackson himself. The Democrats, of course, back to D.O.G.E. We want to talk a little bit about this, too, with Laura Carno. We're also going to talk ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. That's coming up with John Fabbricatore. He's coming up at about 8:50 this morning, so about 22 minutes away. We'll talk to John Fabbricatore, former Denver ICE director. We're going to get the very latest on these ICE raids that are happening. And I just want you to pay attention. I'm going to say this again because I want you to remember, and I hate it when talk show hosts or people say, we talked about this. I told you this 3 weeks ago. But I do want you to remember and say, hey, Jimmy said that. You've seen HHS, you've seen Pam Bondi, you've seen them all working together, that knowing that the topic of illegal immigration is a top priority for this administration. And so last week you saw them really go after Illinois, filing charges there. Yesterday, the story of the day, Wednesday and Thursday, the story of the day was they filed charges against the governor, the DMV director, Department of Motor Vehicles, and the district attorney of New York City, because they were not cooperating with ICE and they were going against federal laws. And Pam Bondi has decided to file charges against them. And so 1 week was Illinois, then you have New York, and I'm telling you, they have a list of these egregious states. And I would not be surprised, because of the popularity of the story, or the widespread fame of the story about Trende Aragua in Aurora and our lying Sacagawea governor that said, oh, there's no gang members holding up apartments, and yet 2 weeks ago, you had ICE going into those apartment buildings to try to get the gang members out of there, and they had been tipped off, and Tom Homan says that somebody has been identified, and I hope they tell us who it is. They need to let us know who these people are that have tipped, and I asked the question, was there someone in the governor's office, if he knew that he would tip off the gang members? I don't know. The point is J.D. Pritzker in Illinois were last week. This week, they're highlighting the sins and the lawlessness of the state of New York. And I just want to know, and take a guess, that Colorado has to be pretty high up on that list. I mean, California's got a lot of issues. We know that. But just with some of the mouthiness that the Denver mayor has done to highlight the problem, the lies that Jared Polis has told about illegals in Tren de Aragua, the Aurora, even the Aurora mayor was off mouthing and pretending it didn't happen, and now he's gone quiet after he said, yeah, it was a big deal. I mean, he was just trying to cover the Chamber of Commerce story about Aurora, but there were real problems there. I wouldn't be surprised if the Trump administration has a top 5 states that they're going to go after, and they went after Illinois and they went after New York, I wouldn't be surprised if the next couple of days or couple of weeks you don't hear some kind of a charge being filed in the state of Colorado, either against a mayor or a governor for interfering with federal endorsement laws. So I'm not the I told you so guy, but I'm just watching the order: Illinois, New York, and then you go, well, who's next? Who's next? We'll figure it out. All right, everybody, stand by, ladies and gentlemen. Laura Carno is my guest, fastercolorado.org. Usually with us on a Tuesday. Please stop the heart palpitations. Everything's okay. She was just busy on Tuesday, and so I know many of you were disappointed. At about 8:30 in the morning, you're like, Carno's not here. I'm out of here. Well, Carno's here today, so don't leave this time. Laura Carno, Faster Colorado. Good morning, Laura.
Good morning. Happy Valentine's Day to you and your viewers.
I appreciate you being here. Happy Valentine's Day to you. Do you have an Apple? You live out in the middle of nowhere. You don't have an Applebee's nearby, do you?
No, we do not have an Applebee's out here.
They advertise so much, and I sometimes get hungry for some of that Applebee's, but I think it's a long ways away, so I don't know what to do. I'm trying to find the Applebee's. I'm like, where's Waldo? Where's Applebee's? It's the same thing in my mind. All right, Laura, I have this theory that I just floated, and we'll talk about some other topics. John Fabbricatore is coming up here in just a bit. Last week it was Pritzker in Illinois. This week it's New York, and they're filing charges. I think Colorado's got to be on the top 5 list of egregious states when it comes to violating federal law and forgetting the supremacy clause. And, we've talked to Sheriff Steve Ream so many times about not letting ICE even cooperate with sheriffs. If Illinois was first, New York is second. Who's third? Who's fourth? Where does Colorado fall on the list?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to be in the top 5-ish for sure. If you look at the number of times this news story about immigration, ICE raids, Colorado have been in national news. I think we've got to be in there. And I don't know if you saw that Kyle Clark from Channel 9 News had to issue an apology because they said that ICE picked up a guy that had no criminal background, but he had a criminal background. So they had to actually make an apology, which I think is very good to get all that truth out. But I think Colorado, Jared Polis is going to take some knocks to his reputation for how bad this is in Colorado.
And also his ability to gaslight, because it now is a national story. Even last week, Tom Homan's in Aurora. They're at the very apartment complex trying to get these gang members, and the FBI, somebody had tipped them off, and they had gone. And instead of gang members being there were protesters, probably Polis voters, sitting there protesting and heckling the ICE agents. This is the same apartment complex that Jared Polis said there's no problem. There was no gang activity or gang takeover of the apartment complex, but funny that they were at that apartment complex to remove gang members.
Right. And I mean, thank God for new media, and, that we don't have just the broadcast news stations and the Denver Post to listen to, that there are, citizen journalists and new media that are looking into this stuff and daylighting it. But yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. I wondered with those protesters if they were somehow funded by a grant from USAID through some, weird thread of how money moves around. But yeah, that was very interesting for sure.
It's going to be interesting because it seems as if, again, we're early in the administration, but they're being very systematic. And they start with Illinois, and they started with New York. And Tom Homan this week said they think they know the source of the leak, and they're working to take that person and arrest that person or those people. I hope that they should be making that public so we all know who betrayed the safety of these officers. But I agree, top 5, Colorado's going to be on that list, and it seems like they're going one state at a time and crossing the T's and dotting the I's, dot the I's, crossing the T's. So we'll see. If there's a line in Vegas, I'll find it, and I'll take the under on whatever they're saying in Vegas for Colorado. And
perfect.
Yeah, Jared Polis, he wants to be the president one day. All right, let's talk here a couple of things. First of all, you're watching D.O.G.E. as well. it's been fascinating to watch. We have these the political opponents out there, the Democrats, that this is a weird mountain for them to die on. Government waste, government abuse, fraud. We're not closing departments. We're just trying to expose these are waste, fraud, and abuse, and we're trying to get to the bottom of it and be more fiscally responsible. The Democrats, I mean, is the reaction going to get worse? So you mentioned the IRS. Are they going to go to the IRS? What will Democrats do then? That's their army.
Right. And it's putting Democrats in the unenviable position of defending the IRS, the most hated institution in the country, and Democrats are having to defend it. There was a legislator, a congressman, who said, if your refunds are late, it's because of Elon being in the IRS. It's like, oh, don't go there. I don't know if you saw Gutfeld last night, Jimmy, but Kat Timpf, who's the very pregnant, several days over her due date, apparently looks miserable. She was a comedian, she's a political commentator, very libertarian. She said that what the Democrats are doing is akin to, you find out that your boyfriend is cheating on you, and he says, you went through my phone? You're like, no. This is what Kat Timpf is saying. No, that's not the issue, that I went through your phone. It's that you are cheating on me. And she said, that's what the Democrats are doing. I thought it was such an apt way to look at that Elon and the president are saying, look, your government has been cheating on you. And the Democrats are saying, how dare you look in there to see that they're cheating on you. And ordinary people are losing their minds over this. And I think that this is a feature, not a bug. I think they sat around some pretty fun conference room tables, after President Trump won, but before he was sworn in, and perhaps even through that whole 4 years, and said, what is our order of events going to be so that the maximum number of people can have their eyes open? And I think that's exactly what's happening, and I am here for it.
I got the popcorn. It's fascinating. Even people that everywhere I've gone the last 3 or 4 days, I hear somebody, if there's a conversation, people are talking about this DOGE thing. They're talking about wasteful spending. And outside of the squawking Maxine Waters and crazed Chuck Schumer, people are like, can you believe how bad it is? Can you believe all this crap? Again, I'm sure there's some pot-smoking, dope-smoking liberal in Berkeley or Boulder or somewhere that thinks Elon Musk is Satan. But the average person that I talk to, average people, the average people seem to be going, wow, we spent money on what?
Yeah, exactly. And even people that I talk to who are very not plugged in to politics, the number one thing, Jimmy, that I'm hearing from those people who pay zero attention is, thank God the paper straws are going away. Yeah. And whatever it takes, whatever small thing it takes for people to say, I can't believe my government was doing something stupid that impacted my life, and how wonderful that I now have the choice to do what I want. Whatever small thing it is, if it's straws or DOGE or whatever, that is good. It is always proper for citizens to be distrustful of their government and say, don't you dare do that, whatever, whether it's straws or USAID or the IRS. It's I'm with you. I'm popping popcorn.
Yeah, the paper straws is another one. The other one that kind of wasn't noticed, and maybe it's just the way I think, but I think Trump signed an order on some of the EV stuff on home appliances. So toilet companies can make toilets that are real flow and not the low flow, because the low flow, you may have to flush it 3 or 4 times or get a plunger next to your toilet the whole time. But he said, this is stupid. Why don't we just get properly flushing toilets? So between paper straws and proper toilets, we were becoming a fine society once again.
Yeah, and remember when all of the discussion out there was, you're going to lose your gas stove and you're going to go electric and you're going to like it. And there are a lot of people, when that discussion was happening during the Biden administration, who that was kind of the issue for them. I think ordinary people, even if they buy into, okay, government should tell me what to do in my community, they draw the line at their front door. And I don't want the government in my bedroom. I don't want them in my refrigerator. I don't want them anywhere in my house. Ordinary people, I think, get that. So it's gosh, Jimmy, what are we, 3.5 weeks into
Yeah,
this?
it's yeah, not
Holy cow!
yeah.
This dizzying pace of winning. I just when people ask me, so what do you think of the administration so far? I'm like, number one, I can't turn my TV off because every 5 minutes something new is happening. But I'm not tired of the winning. I mean,
Yeah.
all of these things that are giving more power back to people where it belongs and taking it away from government where it doesn't belong, I think is just fabulous.
I was watching this, and I had my friend the other day was talking. His name's Tony, and he said, we never watched the news in our house. We'd listen to the radio or listen to podcasts. He goes, the last 3.5 weeks, we can't turn the thing off. And I think people feel that way. People that maybe even you and I are pretty engaged in news, but I don't watch a lot of news. But the past couple of weeks, I've had it on more than usual. Another compare and contrast that I find interesting is a couple of times they flashed back to some speeches of Biden, and you look at the dizzying pace and you look at the effectiveness and the leadership of Trump, and I wonder how many people, and maybe no one, but I think you can't look in the side-by-side comparison. Now you see the results of Trump's first 3.5 weeks, and they keep playing speeches or excerpts of Joe Biden doddering around and slurring his words. Hopefully somebody's out there going, I can't believe I voted for that guy. I can't believe I was duped into believing that was real leadership. I'm hoping maybe some scales are coming off ice. I'm not sure they are.
Yeah, I would like to sit down a liberal and play those two types of clips where he has no idea where he's going and he's mumbling and all that stuff versus President Trump with all these reporters in his office just taking question after question, having a great command of every single issue. Never once, Jimmy, has President Trump said, let me see who I'm supposed to call on next. Oh, they won't let me call on so-and-so. Nothing like that. But I think that liberals would like to leave that in the past and not have to answer for it.
He had two press conferences yesterday. He had his normal Oval Office press conference where he let people come in and fire questions. Then he met with the Prime Minister of India, and then they came out and had a press conference together. I mean, this compare and contrast while Maxine Waters and these jackasses are screaming transparency. I mean, Elon Musk stood there and asked questions. I mean, how many times did you get to ask questions of Merrick Garland or Austin? I mean, they didn't answer questions. They did everything and hoped that you weren't noticing how bad they were screwing up our country. And this is a pretty transparent administration.
Right, extremely, which is why we can't turn off our TVs, because if it's not Trump and Elon Musk, it's the official press briefing in the White House press room, or another person in a different agency, or Pete Hegseth is having a press conference, or JD Vance is in Munich. It is they are everywhere all the time, and I think they're looking at this, Jimmy, as there is so much to fix, and we have to get a ton of points on the board before the midterms, because voters need to look at this and say, yes, please give me more of it.
Yeah. Excuse me, please. May I have another? And
yes.
All right, real quick, I want to get to this other story. We have listeners and viewers all over America, but as goes California, so goes the rest of the country, as goes crazy places like Colorado, where you have a governor that pretends he's a moderate when he's actually pretends he's a libertarian, which is even funnier because to quote Reagan against Walter Mondale or whoever. Whoever said I knew him, JFK, and you're not JFK. I know libertarians, Jared, and you're no libertarian. Anyway, we got to pay attention to the state of Colorado because we have a fake libertarian governor who's actually a crazy liberal governor, and he'll sign any bill that comes through our even crazier Senate and House of the legislature. Laura, Senate Bill 3, the Colorado legislature, for all you Colorado folks, pay attention. Here you go. Senate Bill 3, what is it about to do?
Yeah, so Senate Bill 3 is the one that said, oh, we're not a gun ban. We just are going to restrict the types of firearms you can have in the future to firearms that have a fixed magazine. And so for folks out there who are not gun people, the magazine is the part that comes out of a semi-automatic firearm. You load ammunition into it and reseat it. We could talk about this for an hour, but there's a ton of problems just mechanically with that, aside from it's none of the government's business what kind of firearm a lawfully a law-abiding citizen should be able to own. So anyway, they were saying it's not a gun ban, it's just restricted to these kinds that, by the way, don't exist. So it passed the Senate committee. Yesterday, it was on the House floor forever. They finally passed it on the Senate floor at 2 a.m. They passed it with an amendment, and it sounds like watching Twitter that there was a lot of machinations between the governor and the bill sponsor, who's Tom Sullivan, whose son was murdered at the Aurora Theater shooting. So he's got emotional stake in this game, no constitutional stake, just emotional stake. And so he and the governor were going back and forth all evening, apparently. So the amendment that got this to pass says, okay, we'll let you have those firearms, but you have to get more training, by the way, which you have to pay for. That training is going to keep the poorest people who need to defend themselves in their dangerous neighborhoods from being able to afford this. So you have to get extra training, and you have to get a permission slip from your sheriff to be able to purchase these firearms. This is very similar to what happens in the state of Illinois when you have to get a firearms owner's ID card, which is, again, a permission slip to be able to exercise a constitutional right. It's like a poll tax. What I thought was very interesting is the governor gave in on this. Number one, to your point, Jimmy, he is not a libertarian. Libertarians don't look for ways to soften the assault on your constitutional rights. That's not what they do. But I think it's a very, very weak look for the governor who wants to run for president next time. It is a very weak look for him to be compromising on something like this that he said he wasn't going to do. So it's going to be interesting to see. The next step, it goes over to the House. It will go through a House committee. Bills like this have been killed in House committees in the past. So we'll see what happens with that. But this is clearly the biggest gun bill going through this year. There's one that's going to be going through on Tuesday that says, hey, how about when bad guys steal your guns, they have bigger penalties? I'm all for that. Let's punish the criminals, not the law-abiding citizens.
Yeah, I'm guessing every state's the same. I grew up in Texas where the legislature got together like once a century. I mean, they hardly ever meet in Texas.
Yes.
But Colorado, we have 5 months of hell putting up with this legislature every year. And it's always amazing me, and I'm guessing other states are the same way. The bills you start talking about to get attention are these crazy bills that seeming to focus on the law-abiding citizen, but I don't see any bills getting rid of criminals off the street or tightening up penalty. There's nothing. All these bills that we talk about, and they champion, and they're Senate Bill number 3. This is the third most important one to them. Let's get to the floor. It's all about limiting our freedoms rather than making us safe by maybe taking away some bad guys' freedoms.
Right, exactly. The legislature should be protecting the individual rights of us against criminals. They should not be taking away the constitutional rights of anybody out there. They should be protecting our individual rights against the bad guys, and they have zero idea how to do that.
Laura Carno, we'll talk to you on Friday. Usually it's Tuesday, so that means I'm just a couple of days away from another conversation with you Tuesday.
That is true. And please look at my Facebook or Twitter for my Valentine today.
Oh, yes.
Every year I put this Valentine out there. So folks need to go to my Facebook or Twitter and take a look at that.
I know exactly the one you put out every year. I think you teased it a couple of weeks ago. So everybody go to your Facebook, and your Twitter is what address?
It's all Laura Carno.
Laura Carno, Carno. Welcome to a special edition of Carno Friday. I think we had to pay double for this because it's Carno Friday, but here we are. Laura Carno, pleasure. I appreciate you hopping on as always. Laura Carno, go look at her Valentine's wish. Maybe I'll read it to you here in just a moment. I forgot about this, producer Chad. We were talking that maybe I would do the entire show today since it's Valentine's in a very low voice and do that, but I don't want any of you to stumble in your walk with the Lord with that. So kind of the Barry White voice. I could have done the whole show that way. It would have been creepy talking to Laura Carno like that. Talking to John Fabbricatore while I'm sounding like Barry White. That would have been, See, it'd be creepy, but some of you might enjoy it out there because I've seen some of the comments of some of you making these chat rooms out there, and tisk. All right, good to have you here. It's for Valentine's Day. I scrolled through while Laura was talking. I mentioned that Applebee's advertises a lot, but there sure aren't a lot of Applebee's around, and maybe Applebee's is the place to go because you don't take. Unless you're a high school or college kid, do you take your Valentine's date to Applebee's? And I'm thinking most people probably go to the restaurant where you have to put your pinky in there, the special place you don't normally wouldn't go. So it's a special night, right? Well, I mentioned that Applebee's advertises a lot, and sometimes I want Applebee's, and thought maybe I'd go to Applebee's. And then people said, go to Texas Roadhouse. And I'm like, where's this coming from? So I started scrolling through, and some of you are just out of your minds. Some of you, that boy ain't right. That's what I think of some of you, and I love you and stuff. But I hope when you ride that short bus, you have a helmet on because it's dangerous for some of you people out there. Whew. All right, good to have you here. I use the analogy again. It's like, man, I sure would like to know if there's some Chinese food near me. Well, there's a Mexican store right. What did I say? I said Applebee's. You're telling me I should go to Taco Bell? Thank you. All right. Yeah. Some of you put the helmet on before you get in the car today because you should. All right. Good to have you here. John Fabbricatore. He's waiting in the green room, waiting for me to stop pontificating about the Applebee's and talk about immigration, customs enforcement. He's the former Denver field director for immigration customs enforcement. ICE. John Fabbricatore. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me back on. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it's been since the election. Folks who are out of state don't know you ran for attempted to displace and unseat Jason Crow, a very radical congressperson in CD6, endorsed full-throated endorsement by Nancy Pelosi. She's really Nancy Pelosi's hand-chosen child for CD6. But unfortunately, you were not successful, but you're still fighting the good fight. So let me just start kind of 35,000 feet. New administration. You didn't win on election night. President Trump did win. As a former field director for immigration customs enforcement, what's your take? What is your vantage point of this new administration and the actions of Tom Homan?
Yeah, so look, they're doing the right thing. I work for Tom Homan. He is a cop's cop. He has a plan in place. He's got some great vision and goals. The men and women of ICE are getting out there. They're going to make the arrests that they should have been making the last 4 years, but the last administration just totally destroyed our immigration system. But look, what's going on now should have been happening. And, we're going to get rid of some criminal illegal aliens, and we're going to make this country safer.
Now, in that height of the Aurora apartment complex fiasco, you were at the tip of the spear there with an Aurora City Council person saying, we got a problem in this apartment complex. We have our jackwagon governor here in the state of Colorado say there's nothing to see here, gaslighting, there's nothing. You were saying there was something to see here. It is interesting that just last week, they went to that very apartment complex to arrest some of these gang members that Jared Polis, our governor, said did not exist. Give me your take and anything you know on the update of that raid that got exposed last week and risked the lives of officers.
Yeah, so, that raid was leaked. We were still able to arrest, a few criminal aliens, but not the numbers that they really wanted and that they had targeted. They had done a lot of surveillance on those addresses, put a lot of time and work into it. And when leaks like that happen, like you said, it puts the officers in danger, but it also just expands their work now. Now they've got to go back out and they've got to, refine these cases, do more surveillance. It's just horrible that it had to happen. They are arresting Tren de Aragua in this area, though. I've got a list of almost 24 TDA gang members that have been arrested since last summer. It's going to continue to happen. They're going to root these guys out, but they're also starting to leave this area because they know it's hot in this area. They know that ICE is out. They know they're being looked for. So we've been noticing them in Montana and South Dakota. These guys are on the run now.
Let me ask you this question. I'm watching the administration. I asked Laura Carno just before you the same question. I started our interview this way. Last week, they really went after the government of Illinois for their policies of sanctuary state, sanctuary city, named Governor Pritzker and some of his associates. This week, they've named the district attorney. They've named a DMV director and the governor of New York in sanctions and charges in New York. Yeah. Colorado has to be in the top 5. If they're doing one a week, it seems like we have some pretty loony policies statewide.
It's coming. It's definitely coming. So I wrote an op-ed for the Denver Post last week about Mayor Mike Johnston. Yesterday, I had an op-ed published in the Chicago Tribune about Mayor Johnson in Chicago. And look, these guys, they're not good leaders. President Trump has them on his dartboard. He's going through those names one by one, and you're going to see action. Pam Bondi is on fire right now. You know, she's rolling through. She's going to snatch some of these guys up because they're not helping the American community. They're not keeping communities safe. Sanctuary jurisdiction does not protect American citizens. It only protects criminal illegal aliens.
Talk about this. This is Holman's been trying to explain this, and you can speak firsthand. In Colorado and a lot of these sanctuary states and cities, it is illegal for the local law enforcement officer to. There may be an ICE detainer issued, but they're not allowed to call and say, "Hey, we're about to let the guy out," or "He's in cell block 3. You want to go get him?" They're forcing these takedowns in the street or in the neighborhoods, and that's a very dangerous thing. But these policies do endanger. Talk about that. Just what Holman's trying to get across, that some people, do Democrats not understand this?
Yeah, it's much safer for us to take custody of these criminal illegal aliens in the jails or in court. Here in the state of Colorado, we can do neither. So there's been 2 bills passed. You have 23-1100, which keeps sheriffs from being able to detain criminal illegal aliens on ICE's dime. And then you have SB 83, Senate Bill 83, which says ICE agents cannot even go into a courthouse to make an arrest. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And then you have 19-1124, which says probation and parole cannot communicate with ICE when a criminal illegal alien is done with their prison sentence and gets out on the street and gets put on probation and parole. So this state is letting criminal illegal aliens back out on the street. And not only are they letting them back out, but your tax dollars are paying for them to be on probation and parole when they should be picked up by ICE and deported.
It's going to be fascinating when you said, because I was going to try to set the odds that it's got to be the top 5. I mean, well, it was Illinois, New York, Colorado's got to be 3 or 4, at least in the top 5 if they're going in order. Who is it? The governor? I mean, he obviously has signed the bill. You've got the very mouthy mayor of Denver. They're actually named and charges filed against them in New York. Is Colorado that egregious as some of these people could be named in the charges?
Absolutely. I believe Colorado is that egregious. If you just look at the laws that have been passed by Democrats in this state to keep this a sanctuary state, and now you're starting to see whole school districts saying they don't even want ICE in their neighborhoods near a school. The Denver school board just came out and said that they want the sensitive location memo put back into effect, and not just because they believe ICE is going to go into schools, and ICE is not going to go into schools, but they want to exclude ICE from any neighborhood near a school. And, that's just inhibiting what ICE can actually do. But they know that this is their game plan, is to put up roadblocks to keep ICE from doing its job.
Are we going to get to the point, because you have the supremacy clause of the Constitution, that anything local or statewide, that it doesn't usurp what the national policy or the national laws are? Are we actually going to see some of these politicians, mayors, perp walked, arrested because of aiding and abetting or for some charge like that? I mean, is it that bad?
It potentially could be. So 8 USC 1324, it deals with it. There's the language in that law. You cannot harbor, you cannot impede. And there's a lot of, there's impeding going on by a lot of these politicians. So they could potentially be charged with 1324. We'll see what AG Pam Bondi does, and I believe the charge is there. So, let's see what happens.
It's going to be fascinating. John Fabbricatore, if you're just listening to the show, some of you are pretending to work at your cubicles, but you're listening to the show instead. You have just AirPods in and you're trying to fake the boss out, thinking you're listening to Beethoven right now. But hey, welcome to the program. John Fabbricatore is a former Denver ICE field director. John, what is your role now? You ran for Congress and obviously have background with ICE. Have you? Are you consulting, working with ICE at all? Are you going to get back in the game? Have you heard from Pam Bondi?
Yeah, so I'm planning on getting back in the game. The administration does have my resume, just waiting on a couple of things. While that is occurring, I'm currently working for Heritage Foundation, doing some consulting for the Heritage Foundation on border, national security issues, immigration issues. I'm also one of the co-founders of Safe Colorado. So it's strong advocates for enforcement. So it's about enforcing immigration law in the state of Colorado. So, we're working with a lot of the Republican state legislators looking to change some of these laws that are keeping Colorado a sanctuary state. So, I've been pretty busy, still very busy on 2A stuff. I like to get out there and, defend our Second Amendment rights, which the Democrats are trying to strip from us in this state. So I try to stay busy every day. It's just because President Trump won doesn't mean that we can sit back and just put our hands in the air and go, okay, we're doing good now. We have to continue to fight because the Democrats are going to continue to fight this next 4 years, and we have to continue to fight back.
I want to get your take on one more thing here before we go. John Fabbricatore, my guest. It's not just deporting people. There's a network of collusion that happens. I mean, we had this brouhaha between Mayor Mike Hoffman in Aurora, Colorado, and Denver, and NGOs were swapping money and paying for things. I mean, probably a lot of that money, those NGOs were funded probably by USAID. I mean, there's a bunch of layers to the onion. Help us understand how many moving parts. It's not just a gang member hanging out in Aurora. They're there because of several other layers have enabled that.
Yeah, we're really starting to see the underbelly of some of these NGOs, thanks to D.O.G.E and Elon Musk. As all that information comes out, we're going to see hundreds of millions of dollars that have been put into this, billions of dollars put into giving aid and providing for illegal aliens. That money should be going back to United States citizens. This is what we pay our taxes for. We didn't pay our taxes so that illegal criminal aliens could come into this country and get all these benefits, be able to go to school, be able to use our hospitals and everything else, and just deplete the money that we're putting in through our taxes. So, we're going to see a lot of this coming out, and those numbers are going to enrage some people, but it should, because look, we've been misspending that money. The prior administration misspent hundreds of billions of that money, and it's all going to come out.
John Fabbricatore, it's great to chat with you. I know you're active. You've written a couple of op-ed pieces. You mentioned one in the Denver Post and the Chicago Tribune, I believe you said. My producer of this lovely program, producer Chad, he knows you, and you guys were in the Air Force together, and were partners before you went to the Marshal's office. So producer Chad is in the back room screaming at you.
Hey, what's up, Chad? How are you?
If folks want to read your op-ed, most recent op-ed, again, review the theme of it and what's the message you're trying to get out there to everybody.
The theme is, look, sanctuary jurisdiction does not protect American citizens. It only protects criminal illegal aliens. Don't let the left fool you when they say that they're out there to protect immigrants. Immigrants don't need protection from ICE. Immigrants are here legally. We're looking to go after criminal illegal aliens, those who are harming our community, and those who entered this country illegally and have been feeding off of it and taking from America.
All right, I told you I'd let you go, but I got one more question for you. For a while, were trying to say, oh, who's going to pick the blueberries now? Who's going to clean the toilets? Talk about these, even just the ones in the Colorado area, but we heard that there are people charged with raping people with guns in their mouths. I mean, just horrible stuff. We're not taking the blueberry pickers right now.
No, we're not taking the blueberry pickers right now. But even when we do, we can bring back people legally and lawfully through visa programs to do that, so that they are vetted, they are tracked, they are taxed, we know who they are. So if we did need people to do those things, and we're going to find out a lot about what's going on and why they say they need illegal aliens to pick those crops. It's all about profit. They can use machinery to do it. They can pay a better wage to American citizens to do it. The illegal alien job trade is all about profit.
Yeah. All right, John Fabbricatore, why just keep popping up questions? I'm going to let you go, but child trafficking, that's a real part of it. There's 300,000 missing kids right now.
Yes. So, a lot of those kids that came in, we need to be careful with the missing part. A lot are missing, but of those 300,000, most were between the ages of 13 and 18 and males. Many escaped and ran away from their halfway houses and their sponsors as soon as they came in. Now they are being trafficked. They're being used by drug organizations to deal drugs. Here in Denver, you can find them along the Cherry Creek Trail dealing heroin, fentanyl, methamphetamine. But we're not always talking about like young children that are missing. A lot of these were between 13 and 19 years old, and they're being misused by a lot of the criminal element that's out there.
John Fabbricatore, if are you out there social media? If folks just Google you, I guess. Where do they find you?
Yeah, they can find me at johnfab.com, JOHNFABB.com. I'm also all over social media, mostly on X. I put a lot of stuff on X. It's John, the letter E_FABB. And, reach out, have a conversation. And, I'm all about saving this country, keeping myself busy and making sure that we can get sanctuary status out of Colorado.
John Fabbricatore, God bless you, my friend. Thanks for hopping in here this morning. We'll stay in touch with him for sure. Glad to have his thoughts on this whole thing. It's got to be exciting for these people that have fought the border fight for so long to actually now see, hey, we're going to be victorious in this whole thing, or we're going to make strides forward in this whole thing. But John is absolutely correct, my friends. He is absolutely positively correct that the battle's just now starting, and we've got to continue to hold the politicians' feet to the fire and say, hey, we want to change in so many areas, and immigration is one of it. Axios has had a story out last evening that hit, I believe it was last evening, or I saw it this morning, but I think it hit last night, was that Speaker Johnson and Majority Leader Thune, both Republicans, have said they are promising and they are going to move forward with a D.O.G.E agenda. In other words, D.O.G.E is exposing some of this waste, fraud, and abuse. And as they look at resolutions for the budget, they're going to be able to say, oh, we don't need all that, do we? And they're going to start enacting policy, because if it's just D.O.G.E and executive orders, that goes away with the next president. But you got to put some of this in law. And this is why you need to be paying attention to the hallowed halls of Congress, because the hallowed halls of Congress has to enact this so that it lasts for generations and not just for the Trump presidency. All right. Good to have you here on the program. Again, remind you that it's Friday, the 14th day of February, year of our Lord 2025. My name is Jimmy, and I'm happy to have you here. I really am. And I hope, my friends, that you are spreading the word about the show, because I've said you've all been deputized in this whole thing. You are deputized, and I expect you to spread the word and let everybody know that we're here. I want to also remind you that if you need you've been thinking about real estate, it's Sherry Cree wants to be your realtor for life. She wants to really help you kind of plan your life. Maybe you're buying your first home. Maybe you're wanting to relocate. Maybe you want to upsize, downsize, starting a family. Maybe you've got real estate goals, and you need to think strategically about that. And she wants you to build generational wealth. So she maybe have a consultation with her and say, well, if you do this, you this. She can just kind of walk the strategy. Sometimes the emotion is to our home, our memories can be so great that an outside set of eyes on the real estate can be a very good thing. She brings about world-class customer service, quality representation to her real estate transactions. And your life journey evolves, it changes, and she wants to always know what your long-term goals are. She wants to know, what are you trying to accomplish, so that she can advise you not towards just an immediate sale or purchase, but how does this fit into your long-term goals, so that it's, again, that extra set of eyes out there. Listen, she does this. She gives brokerage compensation discounts. If you're an active duty military, a veteran, a first responder, an appreciation for your service, her compensation is going to go. She's going to make sure you don't have to pay part of that to her. Community, she gives 5% of the brokerage compensation can be donated to the charity of your choice at closing. So you want to give it to your church, you want to give 5% of her commission, she'll donate it to charity. I want to give it to Rivers Promise. That's always welcome as well. She's just a fantastic lady. Homeswithsherry.com. She wants to be your realtor for life. Long-term goals. She wants to help you accomplish the long-term goals. Homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. And again, even if you're not going to put a sign in your home tomorrow, have an opportunity to assess your real estate needs, bring clarity to the real estate journey, have an initial consultation, no obligation, homeswithsherry.com. The phone number, by the way, that's anywhere from Boulder to Denver to Fort Collins. Hello, Aurora. We've been talking about you a lot today. If you're in the little enclave of Niwot, I'm naming all these Colorado towns. Some of you folks in out of state don't know. But homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com, 720-299-5149, homeswithsherry.com. Take that consultation conversation. That way you can start setting some goals for your real estate journey. She believes multi-generational wealth building can happen with real estate. She can help you get there. All right, homeswithsherry.com. What else do I have here that I need to get to today? You know what, people, this is, Laura Carno mentioned paper straws. If you have non-political friends out there, what's the thing that they're geeking out about most about this? I've had more people talking about paper straws. All right, we don't have to have paper straws anymore. I mean, I heard somebody said their 13-year-old kids were excited. Their friends were like, "Hey, no paper straws," and they were chanting "F paper straws," but they weren't saying F. They were saying nicer words, screw paper, and they like a party broke out at this thing. Is paper straws? I hate paper straws, and I'll throw one at you if you hand me one because you're an idiot. But yeah, paper straws, I like that. That seems to be a very big deal. He's getting a lot of feedback from the non-political out there. All right, let me read a few more before we go to the meme roulette portion of the show. There are blueberry picking machines. In fact, in Kauai, the coffee plantation uses the one to harvest coffee. So yeah. It's all a ruse. These Democrats, who's going to clean the toilets? Who's going to pick the blueberries? That's really what they think about. They think of these people as just slave labor that can come across and do things cheaper, or their blueberry mocha or whatever is not going to taste the same. So they're despicable people. They are, and the ruse is up. How many countries has JD on the screen here? How many countries has JD Vance been to in the last 3 weeks compared to Kamala, who laughed at never being at the border of Europe? I've never been to Europe either. That's a great question. Well, first of all, he's in Germany now. He's been other places in Europe. I looked that up for Monday. How many foreign trips did Kamala take out in a role as VP, and versus how many JD Vance already has? I guarantee he's already beat or tied. I'm guessing if I had money in Vegas, I would go that direction. All right, today is the 14th day. It's February. Bills equals how much will it cost the voters? That's all bills should have that on there. How much will it cost the voters? Of course, they always say it's not going to cost you anything. We're not taxing you. We're just charging you a fee. Well, that still costs me. It's taxing me the same way. Either way, it's money out of my account. But that's the lies they never want you to know how bad they're screwing you. They never, ever, ever want you to know about that. I got one more story I think is fascinating. It's Friday, and I got a lot of kind of empty, I guess, loose ends I want to tie up here. JustTheNews.com has this story. Remember a couple of weeks ago, Donald Trump fired the head of the Coast Guard, and it was a DEI lady. Did nothing to help with the border. I mean, she was just a disaster. And one of his first couple of days in office, he fired the Coast Guard commandant, and she was the one that was squatting in the house. She was tweeting, "Don't come in my house. No, we've given you 2 weeks. You got to move out of the house. The new commandant's going to go in that house. That's not your house. It's a Coast Guard house." And remember, we told the story that they literally had to evict her from the home that's owned by the government because she was squatting there and wouldn't leave. And she says, "I do not give permission to come into my home, or the movers. We're coming to your house. It's not your home." Well, just days after Trump fired her, investigators confirmed yesterday that the military branch left computer systems and sensitive data vulnerable to foreign adversaries and hackers in a cybersecurity blunder that also left Pentagon systems seriously and dangerously exposed. The Homeland Security Inspector General reported that the Coast Guard and that director, that commandant, failed to follow after her firing required cybersecurity procedures for at least 3 of its computer systems that transmitted data to and from the Department of Defense Information Network, and that is a result of national security. As a result of that, national security is placed at risk. According to the Inspector General, with this lady, the 3 systems we reviewed and other similarly situated systems in the Coast Guard's enterprise are vulnerable now to cybersecurity weaknesses and exposed to unassessed risk that could result in unauthorized disclosure or compromise of sensitive Coast Guard information. Adversaries could leverage the information they have through these cybersecurity weaknesses to compromise Department of Defense Information Network and the D.O.G.E. and the Coast Guard personnel assets, and it puts the nation at risk, according to that. At some point, these DEI hires may just be a DEI hire, but you start to wonder sometimes, are they embeds, and do they actually, did they get the job because they're this, that, or the other identifier, but do they mean harm for America? I'm not saying this was, they have not, at least so far, no one has said this was on purpose, but it does kind of make you wonder for a woman who doesn't want to leave the house that she's living in and has to be escorted out and from her job, and is, she's pretty bad. It's like the first 3 days of Trump's presidency, he had to get rid of the Coast Guard lady. So anyway, that's an interesting story. It's at justthenews.com. justthenews.com, justthenews.com. All right, it's good to be here, my friends. Don't forget, we'd like to have advertisers here on the show more. We got Sherry Cree. I've been talking about Corey Clinton, 1 Hour Heat and Air. Lehman Lewis Financial Group, talk more about them next week. We're still looking for a studio sponsor. If you'd like to have every time we get, over the course of a week, thousands and thousands of people that watch the shows. Not everybody's in real time. A lot of people watch them later in the day. And we can go back and look at the numbers after 3 or 4 days, and hundreds of people watch every day, thousands of people really, because it's by the end of the week, thousands of folks have watched the programs. And again, not all real time. Some people are actually working. I know people that watch them in the evening. So they go back there because they're on all the platforms. So for all the eyeballs that hit this show, this backdrop is always there. There's other things that we have planned for our studio sponsor. If you would be interested in being a studio sponsor, you will have local, national, international recognition for your brand. And maybe you don't sell a product, but you just want to support the program. Listen, PBS and NPR not only survive with USAID, but they survive with people saying, I like this kind of programming, and they do a pledge-a-thon. We're not going to do telethon. I sometimes listen to the Christian music in the car, and because I used to be in that business, right? I used to be in the Christian music, Lakey. That's what built the Lakey Entertainment Towers, is my Christian music empire that I had. So, but it drives me crazy, and I say this with all love and respect to my brothers in the business. It drives me crazy when they have the telethons for money. Drives me nuts. Drives me crazy. I like commercial radio. That's what I like. And so, yeah, that's a bad thing, because Salem was actually the big dog in the contemporary Christian music industry as far as radio. And in order to clear up the debt load they've had forever, I used to work for the Salem company. They sold off all their CCM stations, contemporary Christian music stations, and sold them over to a company called EMF. And that's EMF owns a thing that you may know as K-Love and Air One. Anyway, all that said, so now, sometimes I have to do behind the scenes of the industry. It's not good for the Christian music industry. It's, with all love and respect, it's not good because now you have the music directors of K-Love and Air One pretty much deciding what music you hear, what music you don't, and it's kind of a big monopoly. Not that it's national security, but I don't like it. I like it when there's a competition out there. And they also, if you listen to that about 2, 3, 4 times a year, they interrupt the music that I want to hear, and they have to hear sob stories of, I feel like I'm watching a commercial about the SPCA, and I'm supposed to cry and give money. Just tell me an advertiser that I can do that to, and I'll give them money and do that. Anyway, if you'd like to that was a long trail to say. If you'd like to be a sponsor here, and so we don't turn this into a Jerry Lewis telethon, we'd love to have you here. Thanks to Sherry Cree. Thanks to all the support for the years that we've had from Corey Clinton, 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning. Lehman Lewis Financial have been very good to me for 10 years on radio, and I love them all, respect them. But hey, it's a new day, new generation. So if you'd like to jump in here on the ground level of this, I almost said rising, and then my head said arousing, and then I wanted to say rising. This arousing media platform, but that's probably not good to say on Valentine's Day. This rising media platform, please support us. Do it at patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, and also advertise. And again, studio sponsor going to get a lot of love, a lot of recognition, including right back behind me. Your logo is going to be everywhere, right by the House of Lakey, and we'll make sure you get all the love and respect. And by the way, when I mention these advertisers, use them. Would you please use them and mention my name when you do, and say thanks for supporting Lakey and the endeavors of the House of Lakey and the Lakey Unleashed. All right, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. If you haven't watched the long interview I did with L.A. Marzulli, it's behind the paywall. Somebody posted yesterday, my mind is officially blown. The response, I think, of the comment, I don't have it right in front of me. My mind is officially blown. I'm going to get my Bible now and start getting closer to God. It is a freak show that we live in out there. And I've said this for years on radio. And if you watch me for years, some of you are maybe just new to the Lakey Unleashed Daily Update. I've said this. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but powers and principalities that are in the unseen realm. And that's why I don't get that upset about Nancy Pelosi and people obsess all day about Fox News or CNN, and they get together in social time and just want to talk about the news stories. I'm like, stop. A lot of what you're talking about is the physical nature. What you should be doing is in your private time dealing with the spiritual nature of powers and principalities that are out there and doing things that probably not good. A lot of things are controlled in the spiritual world, not the natural world, and we focus too much on the natural world. So anyway, if you Rich says arousing, I like you, just not that way. Well, that's why I was going to say, if you'd like to support this rising media platform, I think it's rising. Is it rising, producer Chad? We're not quite sure. It's just an expensive hobby. If you'd like to support us, support the endeavor of this rising media platform. But as I said rising, my mouth almost said arousing. And then I said, I knew Patreon was the only fans for talk show hosts, but good Lord in heaven, I mean, it does have a new meaning. Maybe that if we could stream live on different platforms, if you know what I mean, if I could just say it's an arousing media platform. I meant to say rising media platform. That's what I meant to say. All right. So bottom line is, don't just sit there and soak it all in. Help us out when you can. Patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. And if you're a business owner, want to advertise with us, we got a lot of opportunities and a lot of chances we can custom build some for you. Info@JimmyLakey.com. Info@JimmyLakey.com. All right. If you haven't given to our charity, don't forget. Jim says, is this conversation going back to seed? Listen, if you want more seed conversation, you got to go to the Patreon page and listen to L.A. Marzulli. We talked for almost 60 minutes. And yes, he said there's a seeding program. And I asked him how it happens. And I'll give you a summation of his answer, and I'll play some of it. But you go watch it, patreon.com. Join it, $9.95. It's a 7-day free subscription. Watch it in his thing. No one's really ever sat down and given a fallen angel a physical, because the question is whether they are capable of producing seed or if they're stealing seed. Yeah, I started watching Skinwalker Ranch, that series as well. It's fascinating stuff. It all ties into L.A. Marzulli. Yeah, go watch it. All right. Well, that was a real question. Do they steal seed or do they produce their own? And his answer was, I don't think anybody's ever given physical. But there are people that say they have been de-seeded. They've been abducted and de-seeded. I'm not joking about this. Why do we always end up on this conversation? And why is it the same 15 people on all these platforms that egg me on to get in that conversation? I swear some of you hope this is an OnlyFans page, and it's not. All right, give to the charity. We're helping out the kids go to school. $30 feeds a kid two meals a day for a month. $65 feeds them those 2 meals and sends them to school. And you can do 1 month, do 12 months, do a whole classroom if you want. We really appreciate you doing that. And try not to sound like a Jerry Lewis telethon here, but we really do appreciate your support. And that's what keeps this program free. And yeah, that's it. All right, so spin the wheel. We steal memes from around the world on this Valentine's Day. And while we're reading the memes, here we go. Producer Chad has it. Spin the wheel, round and round and round we go. Where the memes we steal come, I don't know. Oh, that's what some of you are going to see today. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what your future holds. You're going to stand there and you're going to pick out, make sure you get a Valentine's card for your work wife and your work husband. No, Delilah, you are not my work wife. You are not, thank God. And I don't have a work husband. Producer Chad, I'm sorry, you're not my work husband. I don't have either one of them. The card from the pet, look at the bottom of that. That's the problem of these Hallmark holidays is you got to get the pet a Valentine's card. You got to get your Aunt Mabel. And people will actually today give their pet a Valentine's card and a heart-shaped treat. It's getting weird out there. Very strange. All right. Who approved this? I don't know, but make sure your real wife might not want to know about your work wife. And you know what I'm saying. I know it's platonic, but still. Spin the wheel round and around the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, who knows? Oh, yeah, that's Donald Trump Jr. We stole a meme from you, Don Jr. Sorry. I didn't elect him starter pack. Isn't it ironic? And the irony of these people. We didn't elect Elon Musk, President Elon Musk. The top left there in the checkerboard of fools is, you see George Soros down, and you see the center square. You see all of them. But we didn't elect them either, did we? Did we elect Mark Zuckerberg when he was squelching stories about Hunter Biden's laptop? Did we Bill Gates up there? Did we elect him? No, we just allowed Bill Gates to go use African children as pincushions to check out very strange things that he's persona non grata in a lot of places out there. You may not know that about Gates. Anyway, yeah, the kingpins of we didn't elect it. That's the starter pack of all the ones perpetrated on us. That the bottom right-hand corner is Soros' son. Yeah, and then his ugly daddy's right above him. All right, spin the wheel, round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Looks like, there's Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard was under surveillance by the intelligence community under Biden. This is a leftover from yesterday. Now she's in charge. That's the thing that was on her, the circle in red. She was in the Quiet Skies program. And this is the organization. This was August of 2024. You can see the date on the ticket. I'm pointing at it. You can't see it. She is going from MEX to IAD, which IAD is Dulles, I believe. Wherever she was on the Quiet Skies program, so she had to get extra frisky. And that was August. That was after she had run for president, served the country, was campaigning with Trump. They were still doing that to her. So there she is. Now she's in charge of the intelligence. She's in charge of the people that did that. And what goes around comes around, baby. I hope it's right. Oh, spin the wheel, round and around the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Has anyone ever seen these two in the same room? Producer Chad and I looked at this over and over again, and we both said, I don't think that's photoshopped. Because that's why they call Mitch the Turtle. And I don't know. But the answer to the question, no one's ever seen them in the same room together. Just saying, you think it out. Here we go. Spin the wheel, round and around the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Hey, man, did you know I'm part Indian? Dude, being conceived in the back of a Jeep does not make you a Cherokee. Is that where Pocahontas came from? Was she conceived in the back of a Jeep and therefore she thinks she's a Cherokee? I don't know. Elizabeth? Inquiring minds want to know. Okay, we got a couple more. Round and round the world we go. Where we steal the meme from, no one knows. Democrats furious that Republicans are trying to control the government just because they won the election. Look at there, just like that. There's Pocahontas right there. If she could speak to us, we'd ask her, were you conceived in the back of a Jeep and therefore you think you're a Cherokee? Spin the wheel, round and round the world we go. Where we land, no one knows. You own a store, your store gets robbed. Elon looks at the video footage of the robbery and tells you who did it. And now you want to arrest Elon. You're an idiot. That's it. Laura Carno had that great example that your boyfriend and your girlfriend says you're cheating, and why are you cheating on me? And you went through my phone. Well, it's irrelevant whether I went through your phone or not. You're cheating on me. And this is a true story. This is how the Democrats are coming across. That you own the store gets robbed. They're looking at the video footage and they're telling you, hey, these people robbed you. Oh, I'm so mad at you. We didn't do, you should be arrested. Yeah, shut up. Go, Elon, go. Spin the wheel, round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Here's your USAID numbers. These are partial. They're not even complete. Why would USAID pay Hollywood celebrities tax dollars to go and meet Zelensky? Photo there is Sean Penn walking in. It's a screenshot from a video. But Van Damme, Jean-Claude Van Damme, was paid $1.5 million. Ben Stiller was paid $4 million. Sean Penn was paid $5 million. Orlando Bloom was paid $8 million. Angelina Jolie, she got $20 million to go over there and celebrate the old Volodymyr Zelensky so that we could spend money with the military-industrial complex. You see how these things work. USAID was driving through propaganda and use of big celebrities. They were trying to drive public and political opinion so that, again, we could awaken the beast of what Eisenhower warned us was the military-industrial complex. Scott just spit out of his mouth the turtle. Well, that's what he's called, the old turtle. All right, I think we got a couple more. Spin the wheel, round the world we go. A reminder to Democrats. This is Jesse Kelly, a talk show host. You might have heard of him. Trump at 45 was a puppy dog who walked into office ready to make deals with you and govern from the middle. But you people, you Democrats, could not control your demonic urges. Trump derangement syndrome. You had to impeach him. You had to shoot him. And now you get what you get. Don't throw a fit. You get what you get. Don't throw a fit. This is true. Can you imagine how the world, maybe as the Bible says, all things work together for good? The world would be different right now. And the attitude of Democrats would be different if they just would have not acted like deranged butt wipes. That's what they acted like. If they just wouldn't have acted as foolish, Trump 45 really thought he could unite the country. He really thought he could bring everybody together, and we put the battles behind us and everybody come together and work together and just have 4 years and run for re-election. But the Democrats refused to let that happen. Even the Republicans. Why? Because they knew a guy like him could threaten the apple cart. They knew a guy like him, he hasn't taken the secret oath and doesn't know the secret handshake to know what's in that closet. We can't have him too close to it. And they freaked out. If they would have played nice with Trump at 45, they would not probably have the same results happening in Trump 47. So, hey, Democrats, you get what you get. Stop throwing the fit. Just shut up. Rich says God is in control. You're right. I think we got a couple more. I don't know how many we have. It's a roulette. I don't know. We'll spin the wheel, round and round the world we go. Where taxes withheld on those USAID grants to entertainers. I don't know. I don't know if they were or not. I don't know. They probably all have shell organizations. All right, I'll close it up with this on this Friday. Listen, there is nothing that we do here that is funded by USAID. There's nothing that's funded by the government. We don't get government grants. NPR, PBS, they get government money. We don't. We are totally listener-supported, viewer-supported. So if you'd like to help us, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. And I'm not asking for donations for that. I'm asking for you to subscribe. I'm going to give you content. As a matter of fact, in just a minute, I'm going to be recording another interview that dropped next week. I have behind the Patreon page, I had a great interview with an author yesterday, Mary Graber, who's written a book about debunking the myths of FDR. That happened yesterday. That's going to drop sometime here the next day or so. Just more interviews on the Patreon page. We're giving you something in return. We're just asking you to subscribe to it, and I'll give you the content that I think you'll find very interesting. I mean, I do a lot of things well, but I'm a pretty decent interviewer. So those interviews are all behind the paywall, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. And then if we do ask you to donate to anything, donate to charity. And we have one here, riverspromise.org. $30 feeds a kid for 30 days or a month, 2 meals a day. And if you add 35 to that, so total 65, you're just also sending you're getting the kid the food and also helping us keep that kid in school and build our legacy Christian academy. All right, next week I have a big event we're going to be announcing. We've teased that we have a big casino gala that's coming up, and make your plans. I'll have the announcement for that next week here on the program, and we'd love to have all of you there. It's all for charity. It's all for the Rivers Promise, and it's going to be a great thing. There's a Sinatra impersonator, and it's a fantastic, classy event, and that is coming up here in the month of May. Mark your calendar. And I'll give you the details of that starting next week. And it's a charity casino gala, and you don't have to go to Vegas. It's going to be all for fun. It's all just, casino games for fun, and a poker tournament for fun. It's all just for fun, but it's fun. It's an entertaining night, and it's going to be exciting. All right, we got to play the music. It's time to go. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Who wants to meet me at Applebee's? And it's so far away to go to Applebee's. Why do I want to? They just advertise all the time. It looks so good. They used to have it. The only thing I've really ever had at Applebee's, I think, it was called a tequila chicken or something. And it's one of those dishes that I liked it, and I always get it. And then I'm like, I should get something else at Applebee's. But now Applebee's, they spend so much advertising, but they don't spend much on construction. I really made myself hungry for Applebee's. I may take myself there for Valentine's. I'm going to be my own Valentine today. I'm going to go to Applebee's. I may even pat myself on the hind end and say, "You pretty." That's too much information. I gotta go. God bless you. God bless America. Have a great weekend. See you Monday morning. I'll see you on the interwebs in between. Jimmy Lakey, Facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page. I'll stay in touch there over the weekend. Twitter is my handle. Jimmy Lakey. God bless. See you Monday. Great weekend. Happy